detective. Thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again. Another episode, and another episode without Gibbo again tonight. He's had to beg off because it's a long weekend.
He's finally snapped.
No, he hasn't snapped.
April Fool's Day was it.
Yeah, what? Yeah, what? He's begging for a bit of fucking trash.
Yeah, no.
He really wants
He's
some
begging
trash.
for some Stallone.
Yeah. Well, true, he is begging for some Stallone. He is. Look, before we get on to our film this week, which is The Strangers from 2008, let's do a quick round the table. Maddie?
Quick. I'm halfway through Springsteen on Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
Loving him telling stories.
Yeah.
He's obviously gone up in my books over the years, so loving that.
Obviously, one of the great memories of our lifetime was running across the bridge to Wrecking Ball, and we were late for the concert.
You were late for the...
We were late for the boss. We were late for the boss, and we were steaming across. Finishing a couple
That
of beers.
is unacceptable.
Yeah, we were steaming across the bridges.
We've still got 2 hours and 45 minutes worth of the boss. It's not that bad.
In fact, by the end of it, you couldn't wait for him to get off.
Yeah, my ass was numb, that was for sure. But yeah, we were running across the railway bridge and we can hear this, "Bring on your wrecking ball." And we're all, shit, that's him.
Yeah, he must have just told the the warm-up act to get off. He's like, I want to be out here before 12.
I need 3 to 3.5 hours to get your ass off.
I'm still in The Office. I'm almost done with the 8th season. I watched almost a season of that.
Yep.
A lot of episodes, but yeah, it's good. I'm still loving it. It's ridiculously funny. So the some of that, I feel like it's a lot of it's repeated ground now.
Yeah.
And they could have done better by
Have they?
They've got to sub some people in and out of
Has
it.
What's he moved on? Michael Scott?
Yeah.
And has he
So
been
we're up to
replaced by
Spader.
Bob California or whatever?
Yeah, he's awesome. They sort of went away from him being the hypnotist with every time he speaks, though, and he's just like watching things and laughing now. Like it's still pretty good. But yeah, there's some always good actors in that, so I love it. Catfish has been on in the background a little bit, and I still don't understand how this happens to people. I just don't get it.
Ask for a picture, please.
Yeah. You've got to do some miles to convince me that you're The Rock. I'm automatically on the back foot if I get a text saying, "Hey, it's The Rock here." But
Yeah, my response is, look, I'll just refinance my home. Checks in the
I'm
mail.
backing it up with an episode of Forensic Files where the guy's pretended that he's been sleepwalking and killed his wife. I'm like, oh my god, what is wrong with people?
I tell you what, that's a double whammy if I've ever heard it.
And probably all of these problems would have been solved if people were sitting around watching Cannonball Run like I did.
Oh, classic.
yeah.
I love
Absolutely
that movie.
amazing.
I love
Give me
that
some
movie.
Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin
When
anyway.
they're dressed up as priests.
Wasn't that one of
so
your dad's favourites, Adam?
Yeah.
Your dad used to love
Dad's
the
got it on
Cannonball.
DVD.
I laughed that the weird doctor with the
All I need
the
is
wonky
this.
eyes and the
And
giant.
this.
It's like giving himself syringes to make himself feel alright.
I also love Roger Moore's form. I'm
yeah,
Roger
amazing.
Moore. And the bloke goes, who?
Amazing, so good.
Back, it's
I love it.
fascinating.
I laughed throughout the whole thing.
So can we expect
Jackie Chan's so good. At
Can we
it.
expect that you'll have watched Smoking the Bandit by next week then?
That's also a classic.
Another classic.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, Smoking the Bandit. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. What a way to end. Cannibal Run. Makes me want to go and watch it right now.
So good.
Okay, Jared, what do you got?
Alright, so I finished up Game of Thrones.
I hear it was a bit of a whimper, the old Game of Thrones.
Yeah, there was problems. There was issues.
Have you signed the petition to have the entire 8th
No,
season
look,
redone?
I'm not one of those people. I just, when it comes to things like this, I just accept it and move on. I don't.
I love the fact they're putting a petition together for a season that probably cost the studio over $100 million.
I like,
expect someone to go, yeah, okay, we'll redo it all.
I believe that Kit Harington's also basically said in no uncertain terms, you can fuck off. Sign the petition. Basically, he said, look, you might be happy with it, but we busted our ass for months making that. We're not doing it again. Yeah, look, it wasn't great, but you know, you accept it and move on to the next show that's going to finish with a whimper. What we do in the shadows, more of that. Honestly, it's absolutely.
I need to see
it's
this
just
show.
piss funny. But I watched the episode with the Vampire Council. Fucking hilarious. Wesley Snipes he's Skyping in. And they keep going on about, oh, Wesley, he walks in the daytime. He's only half vampire. He can't have a full vote on this. And Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement came back as their characters. And they're on the council. They had Tilda Swinton, Evan Rachel Wood. They keep referring to Rob. And they say, where's Rob? Oh, he's off sparkling somewhere else at the moment. It was so funny. It was so funny. Really good. And it had a gag in this week's episode that I've been laughing for a week about. Honestly, that one of the vampires is trying to apply for citizenship. And he's talking about how he tried to do it in 1992 because he became enamoured with the Dream Team. He was talking about how his USA pride was through the roof, and then he sees him with his little basketball jerseys, and he's like, "This is what I call my slam zone," and all this sort of shit. And then his little helper goes to him, "Why didn't you finish it in 1992?" And he comes back with, "Well, the Macarena swept the nation and I hadn't time for anything else." The show's just got me in stitches constantly. So, and Matt Berry, I've never seen anyone that can make me laugh so much just by dropping a swear word into like a random scene. Barry's got all these pompous kind of, and then he'll just go, "Oh shit!" And I'm like, I'm just in stitches. I don't know why, but yeah, it's a cracker.
That voice, it's golden.
Yeah, it's a cracker. I watched the whole season of The Haunting of Hill House, or finished it off. I was a big fan.
I don't know what this is. What is it?
So
Mike Flanagan.
It's on Netflix. So Mike Flanagan, who's the guy that's done Gerald's Game, and he did Hush as well on there. And I think what's he doing now?
He's doing
another
the new
one.
Stephen King. I can't remember which one it was now.
But yeah, he's got a really good style. Like the way that he directed it was super creepy. He just kept using these long, lingering shots. And sometimes he would show you what was there. It wasn't full of jump scares. He would show you what was there, but he would just linger on it, or he'd pan somewhere and then he'd pan back, and a statue's head will have turned around, and like it was super creepy. I was really happy with it overall. I think some people I've spoken to weren't real pleased with the ending. It was pretty talky and not a lot of kind of action going on at the end, but it sort of ended up where you were going. I really enjoyed it. Very worthwhile if you haven't seen it. I watched Annihilation as well on Netflix.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Things about that.
Yeah, it's got some really, really cool elements to it. To be 100% honest, I don't think I wrapped my head around it fully because I kept falling asleep when I was watching it. So I had to break it up over about 5 sessions.
Okay.
I'd get 10 minutes in and then I'd be out. So I'm like, oh shit. So I think I better watch it again to really kind of wrap my head around. But it had some really creepy stuff going on. I would have a look at it. I started watching the new season of Slasher, as did you, Adam.
I finished. I watched the entire season.
Look, I'm halfway through. I'm not impressed.
No.
Some of the characters are just absolute.
Everyone.
They're paper thin. They're just abhorrent people. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to get behind. I like the idea that, this guy from the apartment block was killed and everyone had their kind of interactions.
Yeah.
And in a way, they had their dirty little secrets to do with this guy. But you just ask
and
to
now
invest,
they're being punished or whatever.
Yeah, you just ask to invest so much time with people that it's just a waste of time.
But riddle me this: who are you supposed to get behind? I couldn't get behind anyone. Like I was just sitting there watching it, going, I don't really know who we're supposed to be associating with.
Yeah, early on in the episodes that I've seen, it's obviously the high school girls.
Yeah,
the 2 high school girls.
But again, because you cut around so much, and I mean, it'll probably all become apparent near the end. But I'll tell you what, though, it is probably the most violent television show I've ever seen. I mean, it is.
It's trying to make up for it.
Absolutely non-stop. I mean, I've never seen someone have their head cut off and it shows the entire thing.
Yeah.
Like, the old days of cutting away because they had to then put a fake head in place.
Yeah.
This was done all right there in camera. All the blows hit him in the neck, and it's 3 or 4
But
rounds.
A bit more realistic than Highlander.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then they also,
more realistic Spanish names.
but they also ramp up the sex too. Like it's got more sex and
we can live with that.
No, but there's more sex and there's more violence to cover up the fact that it's pretty.
You know what? The violence too, like having seen that exact scene that you're talking about and some of the other ones in there, it doesn't make it any better.
No.
It doesn't.
gratuitous.
There's not as much. Yeah, over the top. There's not as much craft to it. It's like if you make good characters,
I care that they get killed.
yeah, exactly.
I care for them. And quite frankly, they're running at a fairly heavy clip.
Yeah.
There are people getting killed everywhere. 10 minutes.
I do like, the one thing I do like is that they bring back people each season.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It seems like a
Actors
really
and
cool,
stuff like that, yeah.
because they're different stories, but the same, like season 1 and 2 had some similar actors.
Yeah.
Some have crossed over from 1 and 3, some have crossed over from 2 and 3, so
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Looking back on it, and I said this to my wife, the best season was actually the second one for me. Because it felt like a slasher film. It was set in a slasher campground.
I actually liked the first one, but the second season was where it ramped up some of the gore.
Yeah.
And it was more impressive. I think it was better done in the second
Yeah.
season. The first season was the one I remember more fondly for the storyline, even though I picked that.
No, but the
was one I
storyline in the
picked.
first one was better played out.
Yeah.
The second one also had its problems, but I loved the campground. The snowy campground is a great place to have, because it's classic slasher movie location.
Unfortunately, though, it suffered from some of the same bullshit of characters that you just
Hated.
they didn't need them to be there.
There seems to be a real want for that in these sort of movies.
The problem
now.
is when you
really abhorrent characters that no one likes.
The problem is when you got 8 episodes and you got 8 episodes, you need some people to knock over. So some of them aren't going to be necessarily all that important, but when you're doing 6 to 8 hours of TV, you've got to have something for them to do.
Exactly.
And it's kind of a bit of a weakness to it.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, the characters are just cardboard cutouts. The barista, the high school girl, the chick that's vlogging is just...
that is just
it's fucking ridiculous.
That is over the top to the extreme, that particular character.
The way she talks, the way she goes on about he's got to put everything on her blog, like it's just... she was painful to watch.
Yeah.
And she's not dead yet, so I might have a few more episodes of her.
Finale.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to better things. I got to the cinema a couple of times. I saw John Wick 3.
Oh, yeah?
Fuck, I loved it. Honestly, did you see there was something the other day that said John Wick in 3 movies has now killed more people than Michael, Jason and Freddy put together? Or something like that. But honestly, the first 20 minutes... obviously, if you've seen John Wick 1 and 2, you know at the end of 2 what's going on. But the start of part 3, when he's kind of running around New York trying to get away, it's fucking unbelievable. And Boban's in that first 20 minutes. That's what I want to
see, yeah.
Boban gets a real high.
Boban gets a touch-up. So do a large number of other people. And it involves horses, motorbikes. It's fucking all happening. And it's unbelievable. Mark Dacascos was really good. I really liked him in there as well. Halle Berry was kind of a weird sort of side plot, but the action scene with her is also phenomenal. So, yeah, like if you like John Wick 1 and 2, you're not going to be disappointed, I wouldn't think. It probably doesn't carry some of the weight that the first ones did. Like, towards the end, it's kind of just, let's just work our way through the fights and move on, but... Hey, that's what I was there for.
Yeah, that's right.
And the other one...
Was he protecting anything? He had the dog in the second one.
This time he's just protecting himself. He's just protecting his reputation, I suppose. I don't know.
By towing everyone up the arse for 90 minutes.
Honestly, though, the guy is... Keanu's, 55 or something? Yeah. He's still going all right. And it's funny that he's just come out of nowhere as king shit in the action world here.
He proved it with Speed, but it was kind of like a
Matrix.
Yeah, but Speed was that old style action where he's just the cop that's thrown into that situation. Yeah. John Wick, he's just, as you said, he's just killing everybody. He's just giving everyone a touch up. Like anyone that happens to cross his path. But yeah, that was great. And I also saw Brightburn.
Is that any good? Because I'm going to see it tomorrow.
Yeah, look, I was pretty happy with it. The biggest thing for me is if you like Superman, you like a bit of horror stuff, you're going to enjoy it. But the thing for me was that knowing that it was ripping off the Superman story also leads to the fact that you kind of know what his powers are.
Yeah.
So when things are happening later on, there's no kind of shock about where anything goes. There's no sort of mystery. that being said, it's kind of a natural progression because you look at like the Man of Steel, and it was gritty, and you know Superman had to do some things that people were like, oh, Superman doesn't do that. Finally, someone just said, fuck it, let's just do the origin story and make him just, you know, he's twisted from the get-go. So it was awesome to see that. It was just awesome to see that someone put that story on screen. When there's a little kicker at the end, it's great. Yeah, I was happy.
I'm upset I missed it, Chad.
Yeah.
But I got woken up at 10 o'clock to my little fella with a blood nose.
Oh, very
and
good.
Wiping it all over his face, so it looked like he'd murdered somebody. So I got my own little taste of horror.
Creepy child.
I thought you were going to say that you were too busy watching Catfish and still wondering, how did they get caught up in this again?
So it was probably a good thing I didn't go though.
Alright, is that everything for you, mate?
Yeah, that was me. Yep.
Okay. I finished off Mr. Mercedes.
Yep.
Very good. Not quite as good as a couple of the other series that he's had. I thought Castle Rock, of the three that I've watched recently, Castle Rock was the best one. Surprisingly, not actually a King book specifically. Yeah. But Mr. Mercedes was good.
Book, you said last time that the book was the best. Potentially the best book that he's ever written. Was that
from Mr. Mercedes?
Yeah.
Oh, it was one of his better ones recently.
So there's high expectations.
It was high expectations, and they did change some things that I didn't specifically like about. I mean, it all comes around and it all sort of comes back to the way the book was, but there was just a couple of little changes I didn't particularly think were necessary. They could have just left them as they were. I watched Surviving R. Kelly.
Fucking hell.
Far out.
I don't want to
I won't go into that
anymore.
I won't go into it deeply, but all I'll say is I cannot believe that it has taken this long for this to happen to him. Considering his rumours and stuff about what he'd been doing have been floating around
from the get-go
25 years.
Yeah.
And nobody...
They're probably trying to pin him for a long time.
They were, but the funny thing is the amount of people complicit in letting him...
off and he must have paid off some people. He did, sure.
He paid off people. He gave people writing credits and things like that. Look, he got through 2 court cases.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know about money and fucking the legal system.
Yeah. And it's sad to think the number of people who are complicit in covering it up. And several of them are in the documentary and say as much.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I hadn't have done this. But, you know, how much money is he making for us?
Yeah.
We just forget about it. So, it was difficult to watch.
That good.
Obviously, I watched Slasher.
A step in the name of life.
I must admit, I could not stop laughing when they covered the Trapped in the Closet period. It's like, my God, that song was fucking awful.
Which one?
It was 2-parter, wasn't it?
It was fucking 10-parter.
Yeah, Weird Al covered it too.
Oh, my God. When I purchased Mr. Mercedes, on DVD, I had to get 2 for $40. So I went with the TV show version of SWAT.
Really?
New version of SWAT.
Was LL in it?
No LL.
Fuck, mate, you must have looked very hard.
Well,
I picked up.
I grabbed it because I thought, all right, yeah, look, this might be something that me and the wife
You
might
thought
both
wrong,
watch.
my friend.
And I was wrong. The first episode, it's the problem with it is that it actually does try and touch on some interesting things, but of course, in classic free-to-air television style, it feels it has to do the, you know, go down the generic sort of path. And it sees these interesting ideas, and then it sort of goes, oh no, we'll detour around that. We'll go back to we'll cookie cutter it up.
Yeah, we'll just go back to vanilla.
And it was very vanilla. Like Lethal Weapon. I remember watching the first few episodes of Lethal Weapon and just thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's well made, the acting's okay, there's a bit of chemistry, but quite frankly, you've seen it 1,000 times. If you've watched a cop show, you've seen it all.
See, this is the great thing about, even though you have something like Slasher that doesn't quite work out, at least now that Netflix has taken that on board, you can at least go with the angle of, we'll ramp up the gore or we'll do...
Yeah.
Because something like The Haunting of Hill House wouldn't have got...
wouldn't have
been done the way it was if it was on television.
Exactly. And the last one, Jared, I watched Rim of the World.
Yes. I have heard very bad things about
well, look, I'm going to say this.
Don't want to know what this is.
It was super derivative. It was picking from tons of better movies. It had very bad special effects for a current film. but for some reason I was enjoying the hell out of it. I got a heap of laughs at the start.
What is it? I don't know. What
It's basically about this group of kids who are at a summer camp called the Rim of the World, and then an alien invasion happens. It's basically the Goonies meets Independence Day.
Goonies seemed like it had a bit of Attack the Block about
Yeah,
it.
the creature in it.
It's on Netflix, mate. You've got access to it.
The creature,
right now.
but the creature in it has mandibles like the Predator and
Yeah.
sees in cloaked vision, just like the Predator. There's a whole sequence that's exactly the same as the raptors in the kitchen in Jurassic Park. And even though it had all that, I kind of enjoyed myself. McGee.
You were coming around the big time.
You know what? There was a period there when, I'm buying McGee barrels. He was $1 a barrel a while back now. Now he's about $5 a barrel. And I'm about to
he's
get
about $1.15 a barrel at the moment.
I'm buying up McGee stock. He's about to hit back.
Aldi wine now you're on his Woolies, isn't it?
Look, I bought up after the babysitter, and then I thought, fuck, what am I doing? I sold off while I was on a drop. After reading the reviews of Rim of the World, I might have made the right choice.
You know what?
I'm still going to watch it.
Look, it had a shitload of problems. Nobody's, but I just went with it.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's about, okay, you know what this is. I know this is derivative, and I know it's silly, but I immediately got a couple of laughs, and I kind of went, I'll go along with this.
Yeah, but I mean, you also laughed at Hugh Jackman with testicles on his chin.
I'm still laughing about that. But that was me. All right.
Very good.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. Here's the trailer for 2008's The Strangers.
Who is that?
I don't know.
There's someone out there.
I just want you to run.
This isn't happening. This isn't happening. Why are you doing this to us?
Because you were home.
The Strangers, rated R, starts May 30th.
The Strangers from 2008, written and directed by Brian Bertino, who did The Monster, and it was produced by Doug Davidson, who gave us the Taylor Lautner action thriller Abduction, Nathan Kahane, who produced Juno, and Roy Lee, who produced It. It stars Liv Tyler as Kristen McKay, Scott Speedman as James Hoyt. The budget was $10 million, and the box office was $82 million worldwide. Now, according to the director, the film is partially based on an incident he experienced as a child. One evening, a stranger came to his door, asked for someone who was not there, and left. Later, the bloke found out that other homes in the neighbourhood had been broken into that night. Right. I'm going to start... Strangely enough, people, I cannot start with Matty because he seems to have watched the sequel.
I am heartbroken. I watched the wrong
He's
movie.
watched The Strangers Pray at Night.
It's probably for the best for the listeners, so I'm going to be a bit quiet during this one. But
Now, Matty, before we get into this, give us
good.
your thoughts on The Strangers Pray at Night.
Oh,
And a score
okay.
out of 5.
all right, so for the sequel, we can make this a double pod, right? Let's advertise both. But
We'll rush it.
so I gave that one probably about a 1.5. It starts out all right. You've got good music, good clean 80s music playing, and then they stop it. You've got a shot in the street, and you're like, oh, something creepy's going on here. But then it descends into just this horrible murder porn where the people that are getting killed are defenseless. They've got no hope, which sort of takes away the whole slasher thing and just turns it into a glorifying murder. So I didn't like it. Three of the main kills are like that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm not enjoying this. But it finishes on a high note.
Look at how we're
One
enriching
scene.
your life.
Yeah.
Watch these movies.
This is probably one of the most useless ones I've ever watched. But
You're wallowing in fucking
Misery.
self-loathing
I switched
while
on.
watching that.
I got a lot of words with friends while I watched this one. So that's basically, but you can avoid it. And
So the sequel's also...
it's just it's got these like two-dimensional characters that sort of don't really fit together, and I'm hoping that listening to you blokes talk about the first one will reinstill some faith in slash movies for me.
All right, Jared. Thoughts, mate?
Okay, so I chucked this one out there because I was thinking, I remember really liking this and feeling it was probably a little bit underrated. Going back to it, it's properly rated. It's not a classic by any stretch, but it does a couple of things really well. It nails the creepy kind of tone it's going for. The look of it is really good. Like, they saturate it in this kind of orangey sort of... they start it with the sun going down, but then when they get back to the house in the dark, the house's lights are all orangey and stuff. I just kind of like the way that it looked. The premise is really scary in the sense that you just think about, you know, fuck, when you shut the door at night, are you really that safe? And thinking about it that way. But it's got a couple of things that really, looking back, don't work all that well. I'd probably go... I settled on a 3, but I was pretty close to a 2.5 at some points.
Yeah, I also was close to a 2.5, and I went with 3. Look, it wrings quite a bit of suspense out of that kind of premise, which, as you just pointed out, it is very scary to think of. And that sort of stuff has happened in real life. So it gets a lot out of that. And for a while, the characters do what you would do. They make good choices. But then we hit about the 50-minute mark and they just start making the dumbest choices imaginable, and which what I think is to stretch the film to 80-minute running time. Looking back on it, I feel it would have been better as a short film, to be honest. But it does have enough going for it to make it watchable. Like, I was happy enough to watch it and felt, it was a solid 3.
Yeah.
To start with the likes, isolated farmhouse, miles from nowhere, no one else around. Bring them in, cut them off.
Yep.
Ensure that they can't just run next door.
Yeah, I loved the opening shots too, like setting that up, how it seems to be going from suburbia. You get a couple of shots of houses that look like they're kind of in suburbia with the sun just going down, and gradually you go to these different shots of other houses that look kind of more spread out and the sun's gone down a bit more until you get to the rural. It only takes about 20 seconds, but you go through that it was just a nice little setup to open it. It gives you, in those shots, you kind of get the sense that, okay, this is where we are. I really like that.
And to me, the big kicker is the idea that 3 random people turn up to your home in the middle of the night, knock on your door, ask for somebody, you tell them to go away, you're at the wrong place. Next thing you know, they're back. They're all wearing masks. It's not... It's inherently creepy to think. And the way they do it...
It's scary because it's close to home. You know? Like, the whole Michael Myers being a phenomenon because it was like terror in the home and all this sort of stuff, but it was still way out there. Whereas this one's kind of like a little bit too close to home. Like, it's just normal people with the mask. Well, normal in...
sense,
with the masks on that are talking to you and stuff like that. It's not just a faceless killer in that sense. They do look like that. You never see their faces, but they're talking. They're you know. So
sounds better than the second. The second one, they don't talk until one of them's been shot with a shotgun. You don't hear anything that they say.
Right.
Well, I forgot that they spoke at all. I just remember it being knocked on the door and then that was it.
And she's the girl firstly says she's unscrewed the light bulb and you can't see that she's got the mask on.
She says it's Tamara there.
I
actually think one of the stronger points of the film is actually the fact that the 2 main characters, there's a tension and there's a situation between them that also creates further angst to what's going on.
Opening 15 to 20, I'm like, are you interested in what's going on? Like when they're breaking down the backstory of that he's proposed to her and she says she's not ready, and there's kind of this tension when they get back to the house and he's laid out all the rose petals, but it's like didn't kind of work out. Like, that's...
They're kind of hesitant around each other.
Injury.
So that works really well, but it doesn't... I mean, they kind of leave it there, unfortunately. It doesn't really go anywhere beyond that point, but it did open up with, as you said, a bit of tension between them as well as what was going on around them.
It just added that little extra to to what was about to happen, makes them also perhaps question each other on what are we going to do.
What do you reckon, Matty? Was that good? What do you think?
Jeez, Matty, you're awfully quiet on this. I really like the.
I quit. I'm out.
I actually really like the idea of the record player and the music.
Yeah, the music was good.
It really sort of added that little, because it sounds really tinny, you know, and they've got those old songs playing, but the house is empty except for her, and
When the record
especially when it's jumping, it starts skipping,
Yeah.
and she's upstairs and you can hear it going and just playing, and you're thinking, is someone's down there? So did someone take that off? Did someone deliberately bump it? It sort of creates a really cool kind of atmosphere to it. I would say the direction is pretty good.
Pretty tight.
Yeah, they do. He does a lot of good things with nice sort of roaming camera work and doesn't cut the shit out of it so you can't see what's going on.
Yeah, look, he wrings attention out of what, looking back, is very bare bones.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot happening, and he manages to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
I actually really liked. I'd forgotten all about it, but the sequence where his mate finally turns up,
Yeah.
and I was just
The guy comes out behind him.
yeah, and then he walks down the hallway.
Yeah.
Bang! I'd forgotten about that totally.
I thought that was cool, but I had a huge dislike to it.
Yeah,
Huge dislike.
I'd completely forgotten about it. So
Yeah.
it took me by surprise again, even though I'd seen it.
And in fact, the film probably could have done with a couple of extra characters coming back to the house to add that couple of deaths.
Mix things up a little bit more.
You know, just to add that, and would have stretched it out again a bit further and given you a little bit more things were happening. Because I found that, not to jump into dislikes, they tended to fall back on the old, someone's behind you and then you turn around, they're gone.
Yeah.
And they fell back on that a hell of a lot.
Sounds like the real fear in this would be the waiting when you're not sure what's going to happen. That would be where the real terror would be.
Yeah,
and you could milk some mileage out of that.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what it is. Like, you know that there's two of them in there. You get the three people outside. Eventually, you know there's the other three people. And as Adam said, sometimes you see them in the background and then they go, and nothing happens beyond that. So you're, as you said, you kind of like the fact that nothing happens is where it ramps up, because you know that the threat's still there, and that this person's still in the line of fire, basically.
Yeah. But I felt that they went to it too often.
Yeah.
And that the reason is, I think they were desperately trying to get to 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Because
it didn't sustain it. Because the story was super thin after that first 15 to 20. It just, you know.
You guys had better not watch the sequel then.
Because there is
I own the sequel.
There is a fantastic shot where Liv Tyler's having a cigarette, and in the background you just see the bloke with the Hessian mask just appear in the darkness, and he's just standing there. And he's there for a good minute, you know. The shot doesn't move. She moves around in the shot. She's in the kitchen. She smokes a bit and puts a cup in the sink and everything. And that whole time he's just there.
That's it. And you wouldn't
notice,
notice,
watching
would you?
it, and you know she's there, but she doesn't. And then he just disappears into the background again. And those things were really creepy. They used that a couple of times really well. I don't know about you, but when someone's knocking on that door, like the third time, banging hard, I am getting a weapon.
I'm finding anything I can, blankets, pillows, I'm taping things around myself, I'm getting a bat or a stick.
You've thought about this.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything.
I'm standing there going, come on in, let's do this.
Come on.
The knife block needs to be moved in that situation. Yeah.
No, I'm cleaning out the knife block. I've got it all in hand. She actually makes smart, appropriate decisions for a period there. She goes to get a mobile. It looks like it's running out of battery. She plugs it in. She gets the landline. She rings him and says, look, the girl's returned, and she's asking for the same person. And he, she kind of gets an ETA, when will you be back? Then when things start to ramp up a bit, she goes and gets a knife
Yeah.
and she goes upstairs to kind of, separate herself from there. So she actually makes some normal sort of decisions that you would think you would make, even under the pressure that this would be applying to you. So I like that. I actually found that, it wasn't slasher movie sort of trope of do the dumbest possible thing you can.
Yeah, run upstairs
to get
when
killed,
there's three people downstairs. Yeah.
So I appreciated that. A little bit of effort had gone into that.
Yep. My very last one was basically the only iconic part of the movie for me is the line, why are you doing this to us? Because you were home. That's the only really kind of iconic, chilling moment of the whole thing. That's
the second one's, why are you doing this to us? Why
We
not?
don't know.
Yeah, it's like, why not?
Yep.
Oh, God, that sucks.
My other...
You should have been soaring with the eagles and you were fucking mingling with the turkeys all over.
My only other sequence that I thought was really good was the bit where he actually goes to the car and one of them reaches out and touches his neck
Yeah, yeah.
and then runs off like she's right there. And I thought that was a really cool bit because, once again, for a second when you see the hand come out, you think it's going to be Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
Grabbing him by the shoulder and, classic jump scare from the slasher films, Jason might be there, but no, it's just your idiot, mate.
Yeah. It's just fucking crazy Ralph again.
That's right. But, yeah, I that's pretty much it for me.
Yep.
And look, it's, for a while there, for about 40 minutes, it's pretty tense
Yeah.
across the board.
Yep.
And it works well for those 40 minutes. I'm not a fan of the opening voiceover. He sounds like the guy out of Unsolved Mysteries.
That's surely a plus, though. They're right.
It's based on a true story. If you've seen this person. No, but the other thing for me is, why not just say, open with a line of, based on possible event or on a previous event or whatever, inspired by true events, and leave it there. We didn't need the rest.
Yeah, we didn't need the voiceover.
The voiceover and the stuff about, a violent crime is committed every...
That automatically gives it 90% more credibility if you add that one line.
Even though
right?
it's very tenuous link to the real event.
But people are in on that. When you say inspired by true events, the first thing you're thinking is, so what was the event? So you start looking it up after the movie's over,
Yeah.
It's sort of like what you were saying, because the concept's like really straightforward and it's contained, and they made the decision not to go with any backstory for the strangers.
Yeah.
Which was the right call,
Yeah.
I think. But the flip side is there's parts where you just want a little more to be happening.
Yes.
Especially because we kind of abandoned whatever was going on between Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. Who, by the way, I should have probably put them both in my likes because I thought they were both pretty good. But yeah, you just kind of want something more to happen at a couple of points. You're just thinking, as you said, we've done this same thing a couple of times now.
It's becoming old
mix it
hat.
up a little bit.
Yeah, like it's
And in
becoming
an
old hat.
80-minute movie, like, that suggests your movie's 80 minutes. I watched the extended cut, it was 84 minutes. So when your movie's 84 minutes and you're probably short on story to carry it that far,
Yeah.
it's probably a bit of an issue.
Agreed.
The other one I had was, I mentioned how I like the look of it, but there's a couple of points where they go outside where you cannot see a thing. Like, it really a struggle to see what is actually going on in a couple of points there. And
Is that a decision they made on purpose, or it's just bad lighting?
I think they did, but it's just a pet hate of mine. I'm like, you've got to show us what's...
It's got to be something.
Going
I've got to be able
on.
to exactly see the person in the screen.
There was one part I remember was when Liv Tyler was running, and I think it was a conscious choice because it was supposed to show that she couldn't see where she was going.
Yeah.
But if I can't see what she's actually doing, then does it matter if she
Is
can
that
see where
first
she's
person?
going or not?
She's
No, it was you were seeing shots of
behind, I
her
think.
from behind her and from the side, and
you could mix it up, couldn't you?
Yeah.
First person and
I think you got to see. You got to be able to see something. Like it was just a murky kind
runs
of.
straight into a wall.
Yeah.
Well, my two biggest gripes. I didn't have a lot of dislikes here, but I felt these two things didn't work. I felt Mike turning up was just too convenient. He turns up, he wanders into the house. It is you can guarantee you something has happened.
Yeah, but
So you walk in-
his windscreen had been shattered.
Yeah, I know. But you walk in, you don't say a word, and you walk into a shotgun shell.
Yeah.
Like, you sure you're not yelling out? Are you there?
Would have
What's
been
going
saying
on?
something, yeah. I didn't think it was too convenient that he turned up because obviously they made the phone call.
They
from
made the
start
phone call,
to
yeah.
set that up. But yeah, you're right.
It just
you
feels
announce
so
yourself.
stupid. You announce yourself. You see the place
I'm
is a
banging on the
mess.
door going, fucking me windscreen's just been shattered. Get out of here and give us a hand.
Yeah. And then as soon as I open the door, I notice things are all over the floor, and there's, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So you're yelling out. But he doesn't. He dawdles, he wanders up, and then walks through the door, and gets his fucking head blown
So that's
off.
the thing. I guess it was the catch-22, right? Because if he wasn't going in the way that he was doing it,
Yeah.
there goes the shock that I suffered for the second time.
Yeah.
Like, because if he's seeing it out, then that doesn't happen. So it's a little bit of, that's where the convenience comes in.
Yeah.
He just wanders in.
He
but then
has to be quiet.
it takes away the effectiveness of the...
Yeah. But my biggest gripe was, once we get to that particular sequence where he shoots him, and I understand you just killed your mate or your brother or whatever he was, but the bottom line is there are still 3 people out there who want to kill you.
And you've still got more shells, don't you?
Yeah, you got a whole pocket full of shells. You hole up in the bedroom and wait for daylight.
Yeah.
You make them come to you.
Yeah, you say we've
You
got the door
desperately want
inside.
to kill him, you come here.
Yeah.
And you wear a shotgun shell if you're that keen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, come daylight, you've got a better chance of making a break for it and flagging down a vehicle, right? That's a smart move. Of course, that doesn't fix... Your movie doesn't go anywhere if you do that. So, but you don't have Scott Speedman go, oh, there's a radio in the garage. I'll go, you stay here.
I'm
He
saying,
disappears.
Who's still using that thing?
Yeah.
No one.
Well, what, are we driving trucks?
And we might get on to bloody Dennis Quaid in 1962. We're not getting in touch with anyone else.
But he does to Harry Holt. He takes the gun with him, and then she stupidly runs out there,
Yeah.
a darkened forest, no shoes on, falls over like an idiot, hurts herself. Like
Then comes back in.
They start making these ridiculous decisions, and I feel it was
when she gets outside,
she crawls along the ground.
But
Like
at one point, doesn't she see all 3 of them? She knows where all 3 of them are.
I think
when
so.
she's outside.
Yeah.
If I know that, look, I'm not the fastest runner in the world, but if I can see you and I've got 30 metres head start, I am flying, mate. You're going to have to run a sub 3 minute K for the first one to catch me.
You will catch up with me,
You second K can sag a little bit, but if you don't have the cardio to go a sub 3 on the first one, I'm clear. I'm out.
The problem is my cardio's lacking, mate. I'm in a K here to just be
You only
blowing.
need one. You only need one. You just punch that out, and then the second kilometre can be 7 minutes.
Because my thinking is, you have the upper hand. You've got the shotgun.
Yeah,
So
that's the biggest problem. I
to
think.
me,
They
you're calling them out. Come on in.
They had the plan. They made the mistake, but then you're quickly saying, "We really fucked up there."
Close the door, barricade it.
But we've still got
Still got trouble.
Still got the shotgun. We've still got people here.
Yep. Barricade ourselves into one of the rooms that's got one exit and one entry.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to come to me, and if you're that keen, look, honestly, if you're firing shotgun shells, I believe it.
Yeah, that's right. If I'm one of the strangers, I'm running a sub 3 minute K again. Shotgun's firing.
I'm looting the place.
That's
for
the
all
other
cash
thing.
and
He's in
jewelry.
a suit. I've definitely got him covered for the 1K.
Yeah, because let's face it, he would have been wearing high waisted.
He's got one of those tear-off suits. He's got his skins underneath.
He's going to be chafing like you wouldn't believe after the first 500. He's going to be stuffed. Look, I'm
Wasting arms, feet, moving tie.
He is wearing, business shoes.
Yeah, like...
You're not getting 4-minute Ks with
Yeah,
that
that's
sort of
right.
stuff.
They did seem to have every angle covered, but I doubt he's got the skins on. I don't think he's got his skins on underneath. I think he's got the plain old Rio bloody 7-day pack, and they're going to be cutting him in half by the time he tries to break into a stride.
Yeah, look, that stuff just It kind of feels lazy, and it feels kind of like you're doing it to advance the plot only.
Yeah.
Whereas there were still options. You could have tried to, they could have tried to burn him out, something like that.
Well,
gets
that's
them back
where
on
it
the move.
probably would have been more interesting. The cat and mouse game, like you said, if they hole up and then the strangers have to do something else to get them out.
Yeah.
Like they did when they started smoking the fireplace early
Yes.
and things like that.
So I feel a little bit more effort there to think about what the requirements and what most normal people would do. Right?
Yeah.
Other than us three who seem to want to just break into a 400 pace and get out of there.
Hey, mate, I'm sticking with it. If you got a minute,
We're at the
if you
whole-
got the cardio to run the first K.
Yeah, but what happens if they get in the truck?
Well, I go off road.
I go into the bushes. And
not
the
following
thing
you.
is,
I'll go to the next
I've
house,
got
right?
a pair of Solomon hiking boots. I'm getting through there.
I've got the trail shoes on, mate. They've got to be more prepared than that.
Was there any other dislikes for you?
No, that was pretty much
Other
it,
than what I
mate.
said before about the whole overuse.
I basically had the same ones as you.
Someone's
A
up
couple
behind
of
me,
decision
right on my
making.
hammer, then I turn around, they're gone.
Yeah.
I've got more dislikes about the second one now. Sitting here thinking about it. So lazy. It's so lazy.
We must cover it just to make it that you didn't waste your time.
Alright, that is The Strangers and a small section of The Strangers Pray at Night. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and Instagram at Thrill Me Podcast AU.
Feel free to post your 1K time trial.
Results. Let us know if you want us to do the second one so that I don't waste my time. Please.
As part of this episode, it's a requirement for all listeners to crack a 1K and post the times online so we can see who we'd be happy to run with.
We'll decide if you escape the strangers or not.
Our next episode, we've gone with a bit of a highbrow action picture with, or action thriller, I'd call it. That'd be The Fugitive from 1993.
So Harrison had the right idea. I think he's cracked out a couple of Ks at a good pace and
Yes.
free and clear.
Yeah, but he had a bit of a snooze in the bloody leaves at one point. I thought he was cutting it fine there. Until that episode, though, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.